The struggle between the Vikings and the Saxons for control of England is one of history's most gripping tales. It was a clash of cultures, armies, and ambitions that shaped the future of an entire nation. From the terrifying Viking raids to the heroic resistance led by Saxon kings like Alfred the Great, this conflict defined the destiny of England. Let's journey back to the 9th and 10th centuries to uncover the epic story of the Vikings versus the Saxons. The Viking Age began in the late 8th century, marked by the infamous raid on Lindisfarne in 793 CE. These Norse warriors, skilled sailors, and fearsome fighters struck fear into the hearts of coastal communities across Europe. England, with its wealth of monasteries and poorly defended towns, became a prime target for Viking raids. The Saxons, who ruled much of England at the time, were unprepared for the ferocity and speed of these attacks. The early Viking incursions were swift and brutal, but by the mid-9th century, their ambitions grew. Instead of mere raiding, they began to settle and establish control over large swathes of land. The Great Heathen Army, a coalition of Viking forces led by legendary figures like Ivar the Boneless and Halfdan Ragnarsson, landed in England in 865 CE. Their goal was not just plunder, but conquest. The Saxons, divided into several kingdoms including Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria, struggled to mount a united defense. Kingdoms fell one by one to the Viking onslaught. Northumbria and East Anglia were overrun, and Mercia was severely weakened. By the time the Vikings turned their attention to Wessex, it seemed that all of England would fall under Norse control. Enter Alfred the Great, the King of Wessex. Alfred's reign marked a turning point in the struggle against the Vikings. In 878 CE, after a surprise Viking attack forced him to retreat into the marshes of Athelney, Alfred rallied his forces and launched a counteroffensive. At the Battle of Edington, Alfred achieved a decisive victory, forcing the Viking leader Guthrum to accept a peace treaty and convert to Christianity. This victory led to the establishment of the Danelaw, a region of England under Viking control, while Wessex remained a stronghold of Saxon resistance. Alfred's reforms, including the creation of a network of fortified towns known as burhs and a reorganized military, laid the groundwork for future success against the Vikings. He also championed education and culture, earning him the title the Great. The struggle between the Vikings and the Saxons did not end with Alfred. His successors, including Edward the Elder and Athelstan, continued the fight to reclaim English territory. Athelstan's victory at the Battle of Brunanburh in 937 CE was a crowning achievement, uniting England under a single ruler and marking the decline of Viking influence. However, the Viking threat was far from over. In the late 10th century, a new wave of Norse invaders emerged, led by figures like Sweyn Forkbeard and his son Nut the Great. These Viking leaders sought to conquer England outright, leading to renewed conflict. The Saxons, under kings like Ethelred the Unready and Edmund Ironside, struggled to fend off these powerful invaders. In 1016, Nut successfully claimed the English throne, establishing a North Sea empire that included Denmark and Norway. Yet, even under Viking rule, Saxon culture and governance endured. By the mid-11th century, the Viking influence waned, and the Saxon line was restored with Edward the Confessor. The Viking-Saxon struggle came to a symbolic end in 1066 at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where Harold Godwinson's forces defeated the last major Viking army, led by Harold Hardrada. This victory, however, was short-lived, as Harold soon faced the Norman invasion at the Battle of Hastings, marking the end of Anglo-Saxon rule. The legacy of the Viking-Saxon conflict is profound. It shaped the cultural and political landscape of England, blending Norse and Saxon traditions into a unique identity. The resilience of the Saxons against seemingly insurmountable odds and the daring ambition of the Vikings remain legendary. The Vikings versus the Saxons is more than just a tale of war. It's a story of survival, adaptation, and the forging of a nation. As we reflect on this epic struggle, we see the enduring impact of these two remarkable peoples on the history of England and beyond.